worship you. I will worship you. You are greater. You are stronger. You are greater. You are stronger. None can be compared unto you.
Hello, lovely people. It's such a great opportunity to come your way. I know it's been a while, but thank God I'm here. And there's something that is actually killing a lot of people that most of us are not really aware of. And it's simply brain aneurysm. And tonight I have with me, on the set, basically who is an expert in this area. And the inside view is so privileged to have the sensational and also the brainiest people that we've ever actually have in Ghana. And I'll say that she's the youngest female ever to be the newest neurosurgeon in Ghana, and we are so privileged to have her. So tonight I have with me Dr. Isabella Opoku with me. Hi, Doc.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, good to have you on the inside view. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a bit delayed, but
it's a bit delayed. Okay.
Yeah. I can. Thank you for having me once again on your program.
So, I know you're now in a part of the Inside View family. So anytime you come on the show, you're just a family as well. So, and before we actually go on, I would like to apologize to all the viewers who are actually waiting. I think just bang on at 8 o'clock, we had some technical issues, and thank God it's been resolved. And so I think I'll just let Dr. Isabella Opoku take over. Tonight we are talking about brain aneurysm, and since she's the expert in this area, I think I'll just allow her to talk. And please, if you have any questions that is really bothering you, kindly send in your questions and let us all be educated on this silent killer. So Doctor Isabella, we've heard of brain aneurysm, but I think most of us, we don't even know what that aneurysm is all about. So if you could just educate on what brain aneurysm is all about and why it's such a, it's taking most of our people away without our knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope the position of my camera is okay and everyone
Fantastic.
Can hear me.
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so this is my second time on this program. I am Dr. Isabella Opoku. I'm a neurosurgeon, and I'm here to discuss this public health menace, which is brain aneurysm, which is one of the major causes of stroke.
Wow.
Stroke is actually a menace because of the permanent disabilities that it causes people, our loved ones. Like I said earlier, I am a neurosurgeon, and right now I'm doing a fellowship in interventional neurosurgery. And interventional neurosurgery, basically, I am focused on the diseases that affect the blood vessels in the brain. And what we do basically is that we don't have to do the open surgery. We are able to do surgeries without necessarily cutting or opening or causing a lot of blood loss. but we are still able to treat blood vessel related diseases. And aneurysm forms a very large part of the diseases that we treat as interventional neurosurgeons. And so I'll start by saying that the brain feeds on blood supply from the heart. About 20% of the blood that is pumped from the heart gets to the brain. And that is where the brain also gets its nutrition from, So cerebral aneurysm is one of the many diseases that affects blood vessels, specifically arteries in the brain. So cerebral aneurysms occur in about 3 to 5% in the general population, and it's characterized by local structural deterioration of the arterial wall. We all know, or if you don't know, the brain, as I said, depends on blood flow for its function. So it has arteries and it has veins, which supply it with nutrients, with oxygen, for its survival and function. So when these arteries become fragile or the wall of the artery deteriorates, it leads to some sort of, or I could call it a distension of an area of the wall. I can, just for you to have an idea, I'm not talking to my fellow neurosurgeons, I'm talking to the general population. Sure. So what happens is that you would see some sort of bulging. So the wall of the artery, you all know the wall of the artery is supposed to be, sort of, straight, blood is flowing through it. So the wall of the artery becomes weak. So it begins to bulge. When it bulges out, it begins to sort of distend or sort of balloon, and then that area is filled with blood. So this is basically in the ordinary Ghanaians or in the ordinary person's language, this is aneurysm. That is how I can explain it in non-medical terms for you to understand. That you just imagine a tube, a pipeline. We all have tubes in our homes, a pipeline, water flowing in it. So this tube becomes, a part of the tube becomes weakens, right? So if it weakens, as the water is flowing through the tube straight up, the water will be forced to, hit the wall where the wall has been weakened, and then fill it. And actually, one of the causes of the weakening of the wall, it's the blood flow itself. There are many, many causes where I will get to that later. But there are areas of the vessel itself that as the blood flow and hits the wall constantly, it causes also the wall of the artery. I've not gotten there yet. I'm just giving a gist. So it's just basically a straight artery that has weakened and bulged out and filled with blood, or you just imagine a balloon filled with blood, in an area of an artery in the brain. So this is basically an aneurysm. I don't know if Nana wants to chip in something before I continue.
Being an expert in this area, how serious is this aneurysm?
The end results of all this, is what we will see in the long run. I mean, the cause effect is what we would be able to look at this and judge as, oh, this is very serious, or this is not very serious. This is something that can cause your relative, your husband, your dear one, to be paralyzed in bed for life. I'll get there. I'll get to the topics one by one. This is a public health menace, and a lot of people even die without being diagnosed of this. Wow. I'll get there. When I get to the symptoms, I'll be able to tell you more about it. A lot of people don't even know, they're just going around. They don't even know they have this, and they're just moving around. That is why we have in a lot of autopsy reports, including autopsy reports in even Kolebu, you know, after someone dies, all of a sudden, then an autopsy report will reveal that, oh, so there was this bulging in an artery in the person's brain, which caused blood to spill, and so the person had this, and this caused the person's death. And there are, I'll move on. There are what we call risk factors, you know, which can lead you to have this disease. You know, we have what we call modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable
before, I'm sorry to interject, but before you go into the risk factors, the causes, symptoms, and all that, you know, as deadly as this disease is, why isn't much education or awareness on this topic? Because it looks like there's a lot of unexplainable death, but yet we don't even know the causes. But for you telling us that most of the deaths are caused by this, why isn't there much education or awareness on this area so that people can, you know, educate themselves, you know, just to prevent this aneurysm, you know, from, you know, occurring in the first place? Yeah.
Okay. I will start by saying that even it's a new specialty even on our continent. You know, okay. Even as of today, as we speak, when we hear there's a new female neurosurgeon somewhere, we all jump. Hey! As I'm speaking to you, there's only one neurosurgeon in Liberia who is a friend. One in the whole of the country of Liberia. So one person taking care of how many millions of people, he would not be able to do the job of sensitization. It's impossible. He will be at the how do we call it, at the major hospital. I think their capital is Monrovia, right? At Monrovia, I guess the capital of Liberia is Monrovia. I don't I guess, and he will be there taking care of the grave or the very serious situations that will get to his doorstep. He would not be able to go to the hinterlands and talk to the people over there about aneurysm. It's still a challenge on especially from our side of the world, on the African continent. We have very few neurosurgeons in the world. How many OB&Gs don't we have in Ghana? Gynecologists and obstetricians don't we have in Ghana? How many neurosurgeons do we have in Ghana? Very few. And women like myself, you don't even find them at all. In the whole of Liberia, there's one neurosurgeon. So for us, I mean, talking about the sensitization, the education, I would say it's impossible for us to be able to do that on our African continent. It's impossible because it's new. There are not so many people in the field. And even in countries where there are neurosurgeons, we still don't even have the required tools, and everything, you know, involves money. You know, everything that we need to do involves a lot of money. When I get to treatment, I'm going to talk about that, and you'll be shocked. You know, so yeah, that is what I can do.
And now go into, you know, the causes, the symptoms, and also the risk factors. I think I'll just leave it for you to, you know, take over, and then as questions come, we'll just run through.
So I was talking about this deadly menace. We have what we call the modifiable risk factors. That is risk factors that are acquired, or you can modify, or you can change. These are acquired through our own like day-to-day habits. And then we have the ones which are not modifiable. So I'll start with the modifiable or acquired ones, like hypertension or high blood pressure. Okay, high cholesterol, you know, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that is the acquired diabetes. that is in Ghana we say a situary area, right?
Yeah.
Smoking, cocaine use, and inactivity, lack of physical activity. You know, these are these things I have listed are things that smoking, I mean, it's optional. These are things that we have decided to acquire them, and through our own habits, eating habits, and our own behaviors, we have decided to acquire these list of diseases. There are a couple of them, but these are, I mean, the major ones. And then we have the those ones that you cannot modify, which are risk factors. Old age, above 50 years. But these days we are having aneurysms in people 35, in the 30 years, 40 years. We are having them, we are treating them. Last year I was at work and we treated the 35-year-olds. Now we are having a lot of them. So I think even with this, we need to actually review it, but old age is a serious risk factor. Race and ethnicity. This year, there was an important research that was done in the US, and it was published in the American Journal of Neuroradiology by Javed K. et al. And they realized that in Blacks and Hispanics in the US, they realized Black and Hispanic women in the US, they realized they have a higher incidence of aneurysm in them. And I was thinking, I was talking to someone about this. This was published in me. I was talking to someone about this, and the person was asking me, so does it mean that we can apply it to, is it to us? I mean, Black in Africa? I was like, well, do they have the same eating habits as we have? Do they have the same behavioral patterns as we have? If yes, then we can apply it. Because what really lacks on the African continent is research. In Africa, we don't research, not even about our own population. Sometimes you find a research about aneurysm, about something, and the research is coming from us, from a university in the US. They came, they collected the data from our population, and they went and they published. We don't like to publish, unfortunately, in Africa, So this research about race and ethnicity this research was done in the US and was published this year in a journal, and it showed that in Hispanics and Black women, we have a high incidence of brain aneurysm. Okay, so I'm moving on with the factors that you cannot modify. Sex, female sex. The fact that you are born as a woman, you have a higher risk of acquiring brain aneurysm. The ratio is 2 to 3 ratio, male to female ratio of aneurysm. And this in literature is well understood and has been very well defined. Family history. Family history is very, very important, especially first degree family history. Your father, your mother, your sister having brain aneurysm. Very important factor. You cannot modify it. The person gave birth to you. The person is your sister already. The person has brain aneurysm. You have a high risk factor of acquiring brain aneurysm. We have I don't want to get into the details of that, but just because I'm talking to the ordinary Ghanaian, I'm not talking to my medical colleagues, but just for you to know and understand, there are some genetic factors. There are some diseases, we call them the connective tissue diseases, which weakens not just the walls of arteries in the brain, but in the whole body, the heart. So these patients, you find them with brain aneurysm, and they also have some heart conditions. They have the walls of the arteries of the heart and other parts of their body also weakened. So it's just for you to understand that there are also some genetic factors involved here. Just
but
that.
What? Why are women? So why are women susceptible to brain aneurysm? Any particular reason? I mean,
yes, there have been suggestions of hormonal, and let me chip in this quickly. Brain aneurysm is not completely understood. Okay. Even the genetic factors. Just for you to have an idea, I'm doing a research on pediatric brain aneurysm. I have a data on about 75 children, just for you to have an idea.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'm almost done with my paper. I'm going to publish. I hope to publish in a very big journal. Yeah. It's not completely understood. There are some loopholes in them. We are still studying them. You know, we don't, there have been some suggestions of hormonal, but nothing has been really concrete. And even in this whole genetic connective tissue issue, it's nothing really concrete. You find a patient who has nothing. Majority of the patients, they don't have any of this, but you still find them with the aneurysm. How do you explain that? In fact, in my data of with 75 children, before I started this research, I had read about this whole connective genetic family. And when I started my research, and there had been other few researchers ahead of mine, a few groups of research, you know, postulating and, you know, well, concluding on their findings. I will not use the word postulating, but concluding on their findings and etc. etc. But when I started, I realized, you know what? In my data had nothing, no family history, no nothing. They had the aneurysm. You get it? So we don't completely understand this disease yet. Yeah. So, like I said, I want to come down to the level of the ordinary Ghanaian so that you understand. Just so you understand. When you develop this aneurysm, we have them in sizes. And this is actually important for the neurosurgeon or for your medical doctor, because this is important for us when it comes to the treatment. So we have them in different sizes, in the small size, in the large size, and then, you know, in the giant size. This is not really important for you. But ideally, it's just for you to know, when you have an aneurysm larger than 4 millimeter, you're a candidate for treatment. This is all that you, an ordinary Ghanaian, is supposed to know. If you have an aneurysm larger than 4 millimeter, you're a candidate for treatment. That's what you're supposed to know. And most frequently, I don't know if this is even relevant for the ordinary. I just want to come down to your level. I don't want to go deep, you know. We have in the brain, we have arteries which circulate in the frontal region of the brain, and we have at the back side of the brain the arteries. Just for you to understand that aneurysms affect more of the arteries in the front area, you know, of the brain than the artery at the back, the basilar artery and the rest. I don't want to go into anatomy and all that, but just so you understand this basic ones, I'll just move on from there. So understand that when you develop aneurysm, unruptured aneurysm can remain asymptomatic for many years. So you can live with it for years, 10, 20, 15 years, you'll be there, it will be with you, and you're living with it. They can also cause symptoms. You know, when it becomes very large, it can, you know, compress a nerve in your brain and sometimes cause some, if it's compressing a nerve, a certain nerve, depending on the location of the aneurysm. You know, the artery has bulged out. It's now a balloon. Poof, it's there, big. It's filling with blood, so it's big there. It's not supposed to be there. So now it's compressing something that is not supposed to compress, mind you. So as it's compressing this nerve, the function of this nerve, so if it's this nerve, let's say facial nerve, that moves from there and feeds this part of the face. You start feeling tingling in the face, you know, like pain in the face. It depends. It can be any nerve at all, depending on where the location of the aneurysm is. It can grow so big that it can affect, it can compress and affect, you know, when they grow so big. I mean, for those who live with it asymptomatically, they don't even know that they have it. It grows so big and then it can cause that. But majority of people live with it. Some their entire life, they will never discover it. They die, and sometimes they die for other reasons. The autopsy will then discover that, oh, this person even had an aneurysm, you know, in the brain. But if it's ruptures, it is life-threatening. If you are lucky to survive, it's one of the causes of stroke, which can leave you with permanent disability. And so I will come there, keep this permanent disability. I'll come back to it later. What are the symptoms? I always say that the champion symptom of aneurysm is headache. Do you know how the patient comes to you with this thing? That is if it's a lucky patient who is able to even come talking to you, you know.
Wow.
The patient comes both raptured and unraptured. For those who don't understand what I'm saying, raptured and unraptured. Raptured is when it bursts.
Yeah.
And when it bursts, let me explain this. It's not a pipe. It's burst and it's leaking blood in your brain throughout. No, that's not how. It will burst a little, leak some blood. That is your first warning. In Ghana, I say a two warning. That is your first warning. It will. Nature has its own way of helping humans. There's a whole process. It will form thrombosis and it will seal by itself nicely. But first warning, you know. So the champion symptom of it is headache. Just keep this. And the patients will come and tell you, doctor, this is the worst headache of my life. These are 9 out of 10 of the patients will come and tell you, doctor, this is the worst headache of my life. Sorry. And if they don't come and tell you this is the worst headache of my life, what they come and tell you is, doctor, this is a new headache. I have never experienced this in my life. That is how they come talking to you. You know, this is the worst headache of my life, or this is a new headache.
So and is it severe than migraine? Is it severe, than migraine, or
Sorry?
Is it severe than migraine, or like
severe than migraine? When you ask the patient, we quantify pain from 0 to 10. So when you ask the patient, so from 0 to 10, what number will you give? The patient will tell you, doctor, 1,000.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. They want to tell you this is a pain. This is the worst pain of my life. And when you find women who have given birth, they said, look, they will tell doctor, I have given birth. I had natural birth. This pain that I experienced, it's not even closer to the natural birth I had. That is how bad it is. Yes. Okay. And about 2 weeks ago, I had a consultation, a review of a woman. She was in the bathroom and all of a sudden she was taking a shower. She felt this sharp pain and then she fell. And so when I met her, I wasn't there when she was taken to the emergency and all that. I met her later after she had been treated and everything. And then she was having a conversation. She was telling me, look, I've had 3 children. That pain I had that day, I asked God to take my life. That was what she was telling me. And it was not the first time I was hearing this. I'm a neurosurgeon, and I knew what she had. And so what she was telling me, how she was describing the pain, is how I have heard over and over and over again. So it wasn't news to me. So let's move on.
Okay.
So the champion symptom is headache. You can find dizziness. You can find patients vomiting and epileptic seizures. And I'll explain this. Why will the patients vomit, especially those who have the ruptured ones? When the blood leaks into the brain, the brain has spaces in between them. There's a liquid in the brain, we call it CSF. So this blood will follow, this lacunas, these spaces, and fill the brain. And the brain, imagine the brain is like a box. The brain is like the head, the human head is like a closed box. If you add any additional thing, whether liquid, solid, is not supposed to be there, it will increase the pressure. So that will cause additional pressure, cause the person to vomit. I don't want to go into the medical terms and all that, but just for you to understand that when the person bleeds in the brain, it can cause the person to vomit. And then blood in the brain causes irritation of the brain tissue. Blood in brain causes irritation of brain tissue, and irritation of brain tissue causes epileptic seizure, proper seizure. The seizure that the whole ICU bed is shaking. That's one. That is what I'm talking about. Yes, that is, proper seizure, Kasa. Yes, that one. Yes, you wanted to ask something quickly?
No. No, sorry.
Okay. And let me chip in quickly. Meta-analysis of a population-based studies have shown that the incidence of this bleeding, if you take 100,000 people, some studies have shown that it ranges between 6 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take 100,000 people with aneurysm, they are walking around, they have it, but they don't even know that they have it. Between 6 and 15 of them will definitely rupture in this life. They will bleed in this life. Looking at it, you think that, oh, it's a small number. 100,000 and only 15 will bleed. Yeah, oh, then this one we can go and sleep. I mean, it's nothing, But this is not something that, most diseases you treat. If you have a fibroid, you get your surgery. After that, life goes on. This is a disease. This is a disease that if you are attacked by it, it leaves you in a wheelchair. That is even if you are lucky for life, for the rest of your life.
Wow.
If you have any other disease, you get your surgery, you get your medications, life goes on. No, for this one, no. So this is not something that we can just joke with it. And there's been so many research and publication, and for those who survive, if you bleed and you are lucky. And I always tell people, look at our Ghanaian African healthcare system and our setting. Have a look at it. We are still in an era where, in Koforidua, where I was born and my family still lives, we don't have a DSA machine. That is a machine which will be able to do proper diagnosis that we need. I don't even know if they have a CT scan now. Probably, maybe recently, yes, but they don't have an MRI. They don't have so imagine even in Kumasi, they have an MRI, they have a CT scan, yes, but they don't have a DSA. Because I was talking to a neurosurgeon at Okonfanochi, who is a friend, and a patient who had contacted me needed to do a DSA. DSA is an imaging test that we do. When we do that test, it eliminates the brain tissue and gives us only the arteries and veins. That is a DSA. We don't have it from Accra Airports. We don't have that machine. In Ghana, we have it only at Kolebu and Urake, 2 places.
Wow.
To be able to do the brain part of it. So if you are in Kumasi and you need it, you will not be able to get that imaging test to do. As for Tamale and Aba, forget it. So look at our healthcare system. If you are able to survive this, only 1/3 of survivors can return to normal life. The rest are left with permanent disabilities. And this data that I'm talking to you about, this is the research, not for our African healthcare system. This is data from Europe, that's 1/3. So you can break it down to our healthcare system and what happens in our holes.
Wow. This is quite disturbing. Very, very so disappointing.
1/3 can return to normal life. What is normal life? Being able to cook, being able to go to the supermarket on your own, being able to wash your clothes, being able to clean up yourself when you take a shower, clean up yourself. So imagine being with a husband, with a brother, with a sister who has to depend on you to be able to shower, to clean up themselves.
No. I am so sad and so disappointed.
And some studies have shown that as much as 50% of those who rupture, those who leak the blood, let me put it in simple terms, will die. So if you take 100% 100 people who have their brain aneurysm, this bulging in the artery in the brain, and they leak, 50% of them will die. And the other 50, only 1/3 will go back to normal life. So you see how serious it is?
Yeah. before you go on, those online watching us, I will please urge you to share this educational program, because this is not something that we should joke with. And this is so important, and please share and let's all be informed about this, because it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anyone, our mothers, our parents. So please let us help one another with this important discussion. And it's not every day that we get to have a neurosurgeon, it's because these are very, very busy people. So for her to lend us a bit of her time, I think she deserves this kind of we need to give her that audience to educate as many people as possible. So please share and let's go far. Thank you. So Isabella, please continue.
Yeah. So remember earlier on I was telling you aneurysm, this brain hemorrhage.
Yeah.
This bleeding in ordinary person's language is one of the two major causes of stroke. We have two major causes of stroke, right? We have the other one, which Ghanaians are already everyone knows about it. The ischemic one, which is like the caused by reduction of blood supply, right? So that one is more common. A lot of Ghanaians are able to quickly identify, so, oh, this person has stroke, because the person has this drooping face, the mouth has moved to one side, the person is limping, or the hand is dropped. Those ones I think Ghanaians are easily able to identify very fast and quickly, and that is about 80% of all strokes. And this type, which I'm discussing right now, forms about 20% of this of stroke. Rupture of an aneurysm, usually like I said earlier on, will release blood, into the brain, how do I explain without in ordinary terms? Will release blood into the brain. The brain itself has some areas where we have a liquid called CSF. It flows, in corners and corners of the brain itself, so the blood will also follow, these areas. But sometimes, aside the bleeding going on in between, it can also bleed inside the brain tissue itself, and it's not so common, but it can happen. And when that happens, that type of bleeding, that is what we call the intracerebral hemorrhage, and that is what can cause what we call the focal, neurologic disabilities. So that can affect if the bleeding is occurring inside the brain tissue in a particular area where, let's say, controls the hand, or controls one leg, or controls the tongue, or controls the face, or then you can have that kind of focal symptoms. It's not so common with this kind of brain condition, aneurysm, but it can happen. It can happen. It can happen. And I already talked about the symptoms, which is the epileptic seizure due to the irritation when the blood drops into the brain and causes you to convulsion, and then when you're not lucky, what happens is coma. The person goes into coma. In very serious condition, the person goes into coma, and everything happens so quickly. A lot of patients are not even able to go through the steps, of experiencing headache and maybe dizziness and maybe something, a vomit, and no, everything happens so quickly. There was this very popular case on Facebook where they were soliciting for funds to do an treat this girl in Ghana. It was on Facebook about some years ago.
I think about
what happened was that
5-6 years ago.
I think she was dancing. What she told me was she was dancing, and then as she was dancing, she just fell, and she said everything went black. She said she could not see anything. Everything just went black. She said she just fell and everything went black. Everything happened so quickly. She had the ruptured one. Like I said, it's not like a pipe when it's ruptured. It's a pipe is open, you are bleeding. No, it will leak and stop. That is your first warning. So she was dancing, everything went black. She just fell and she was, just diagnosed. So I just want people to understand that everything happens in a split second. The person you will see somebody dancing in an event. All of a sudden, you see the person, let me use the local Ghanaian term, we're trashing, just like that. And I remember, when Ghanaians say that, I really hate this, and I think I've already told you about this. When Ghanaians say that, somebody said that, somebody complained of headache keke. And they say, and when they add a keke to headache, I just for neurosurgeon. I'm like, when somebody says I'm having a severe headache, it is not keke. It's not something which is just anything. You don't just start having headache out of nothing. Something triggers headache. Especially if it is very severe, or especially if it is very constant. I remember very well when I was young, maybe like 8-7 years, we had a neighbor. She had given birth. She had like a 6-month-old toddler she was breastfeeding. And that day I remember vividly, she had washed, in Ghana, they wash outside. She had washed clothes, hung it outside. And then after washing, this woman held her head and started complaining of headache. She said, miti, 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 when she was rushed to the hospital. She had died. Ooh. She was washing, like 15 minutes earlier when she was washing clothes and hanging it and, humming her song. And then I saw her holding her head, miti, miti, miti. I was like maybe 8 years old. Sister Rabba, I remember her name. I remember everything. She left a 6-month-old, child behind. Oh. She said, miti, 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 headache, 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 headache. And then she was rushed to the hospital. At that time, they didn't even have a CT scan. So what? Probably some paracetamol B, something B for headache, and that would be it. She was going to die anyway if it was a ruptured aneurysm. Wow. So when you see people, especially complaining, holding their headache, you don't joke with it. Do you want to come in quickly and ask something?
Because I just wanted to know what is considered a dangerous aneurysm, because you've made mention that the bulge 4 centimeters upwards, it's considered a dangerous. But then how would somebody know the size, and also if the aneurysm also gets to leak? How would the person get to know?
Come again with the question. 4 centimeters.
No. Because you said the biggest, or the bulge that is actually considered a bit dangerous is when it goes up. I think about 4 centimeters. Is that what you said? The size
from 4.
Yes,
less than 4, you can discuss with your doctor, and then what we do is we will annually we will do the imaging test and measure and see, oh, it's grown just a little, it hasn't grown at all. I will come to that later and tell you, because annually there's been research, some will grow just 9% of what was there already. I'll talk about that later. But then there's this emotional side attached to being diagnosed already with aneurysm. A person knowing that, okay, I have aneurysm. Okay, it's 4 or it's 5. So if the person has the money, you will need to discuss it with your neurosurgeon, okay, and know that, okay, I want to treat it. I have financial condition to be able to treat it. Because 4 centimeters and above, you can rupture. The neurosurgeon cannot sit in his chair or in his consulting room or in the OR and guarantee that tomorrow you will not rupture. We are not God. So we've told you that you are 4 centimeters, you are 5 centimeters. And 5 centimeter literature permits me to treat you. Or you have 6, 7. Literature permits me to treat you. Now, in most countries, health insurance will not cover. In most, especially African countries, health insurance will not cover. You get it? So then it's up to you. You have an aneurysm which is over 4 centimeters. You can leave my consulting room and bleed as you left. Me, I've told you. You get it?
Yeah, sure.
That you have aneurysm. But if you have what we call, if you have a 2 cent, did I say centimeter? Did I keep saying centimeter? Sorry, it's millimeter. Yeah. Please,
millimeter. Okay.
4 millimeter. Let me make this correction.
Okay.
This is very important. Millimeter. Okay.
Okay.
Millimeter. So if you have 2 millimeter, okay, what we call the aneurysm baby or baby aneurysm, I can do what we call yearly. You come review. We do a DSA, or we will just accompany you through the process. This is very important. It's millimeter. Okay, I just want to make this very clear. Yeah, millimeter. So if it's very small, and okay, we can just decide to observe 1, 2, 3 millimeter. We just observe you. Okay, we don't need to do anything. Okay, but if it's large, then we have to intervene. And I'll come to the treatment options that we have. Okay, so usually people will ask, what are the treatment options that we have? We have 2 main treatment options. And of course, conservative. Like I said, you have what we call the baby aneurysm, that we just observe you. We have what we call the surgery, the surgical, which everyone knows. We cut open and then we clip. I don't know if I can share my screen.
Sure.
And then we have the second option, which is endovascular. Briefly, before I show you some of the patients, people will ask, which one is better? This has been a long-standing fight, even among neurosurgeons. We have some groups or some hospitals or some institutions who do more surgical, and they will defend with their last blood that surgical is better. We have some hospitals and institutions and countries and whatever who do more endovascular. Endovascular is what I am learning now. I'm doing my fellowship after neurosurgery. You need to train in endovascular. That is, we don't cut you. Around your genital organ, there's an artery there. I pass a small instrument that I get to your brain. I go there and then I treat it. I'll show you some pictures of how it's done later. So institutions where this is done, they also defend it and tell you it's better. And there have been research. They will publish their research, each defending what they do. I mean, so it's up to you, the neurosurgeon, to choose and decide also on the case of your patient, what you want to do for the patient, because not every aneurysm can be treated surgically, and not every aneurysm can be treated endovascularly. That should be well understood, because there are some areas of the brain where it is very difficult to get there surgically. It is complex. You can get there, but it requires a lot of it's difficult. There are some you meet a lot of delicate nerves there and all that. It's some lungu area you have to go and find this aneurysm to be able to clip it. And what is clear to everyone is that even in my research and in my data collection, which I'm going to publish very soon, length of hospitalization is longer for anybody who had an open surgery. This is obvious. You've been cut.
Yeah.
You bled so much blood. You have a wound. My patients with endovascular, then that's what I'm doing right now. Last week, I was discharging a patient, and my My boss was fighting with me why I had given 7 days off to a patient, and then she was telling me that during carnival she released the patient, she gave only the patient only 3 days off. And I'm like, boss, this is me, like after 3 days, 7 days after treatment, our patients are endovascular patients they're going back around their normal duty. 3 days, the surgical patients, they are still in the ICU and they are, so length of hospitalization is longer for the surgical patients. So that is a disadvantage. So from 1990 upwards, now a lot of institutions are doing more of the endovascular treatment, but endovascular is more expensive. Surgical is cheaper, way more cheaper. Look, I will show you how, and I'm going to show you some pictures. There are some endovascular treatments, that is the ones that we don't cut, that can buy a house. One treatment.
Whoa.
Yes. Yes.
Can buy a house.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's get the treatment options rolling for the ordinary Ghanaian to know that there are treatment options. I have a lot of things on my computer. I hope people are not going to be looking at my computer.
We'll try not to look.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Not at the moment. Okay, let's see.
Okay. So wait, I probably need to do something to share my screen, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't give me the option here to share my screen. I wanted to show Ghanaians some.
That's a bit interesting because normally there's that option from your side to share.
Where do I do that? Settings. Let me see if I can get it. Hey, that's taking me off.
No, you're still here.
Mute, stop cam, settings, present, leave studio. No, it doesn't give me the option of sharing my screen. Where do I do that? Can you try from your end to so that you teach me? It would have been interesting to show Ghanaians.
Okay. Because I'm not. Oh, gosh.
Okay. Alternatively, I have some pictures on my phone.
Okay, that's fine. That will do.
Okay, so I don't know if they can see. Okay, so
sure.
So this is how an aneurysm looks like, right? So you can see the artery, you see the bulging, the round thing, which is not supposed to be there, right?
Sure.
In real life, and Nigerians say on a real life. In real life, it's let me show.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
We can.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, sure.
This is what I see. You see this?
Yeah. Wow.
You see this here?
Yeah. Yeah.
This here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This round thing here. This is an aneurysm. And you see the arteries moving normally away from it. You see normal arteries, thin, and then you see that brown thing, which is an aneurysm. Yes.
Sure.
Yes. So this is how the surgery looks like. Okay, you max. So the surgery, I open the brain and I go there and I use a clip. You see this? I use a clip. I go there and I clip it. So what I do is I isolate the bulged parts of the artery from the good parts of the artery. I'm sure you can see this.
Yeah.
So in real life, this is how we do it. You can see these are real life pictures. Yes, this is there. So up there, you see before we clip it. So this is surgery. You see that round bofrot kind of thing? That is the aneurysm. And then you can see the shiny clips there, metal. Yeah. So I went and then I clip it. I isolate it. So what is the whole idea behind it? So now this bulge does not have blood flow anymore. So it would, in quotes, die. Because when it's, arterial blood flow is, the pressure is high.
Yeah.
So when it's still receiving high pressured blood flow into that bulged, this bulged thing you are seeing is weak. Oh. So as the blood continues to hit its walls, it will burst. So now I have taken the main flow, or the main pipe flow, away from it. I have isolated it. So that now the blood which remained in it will just form clots, and it will just die by itself. So we leave it. So this is the surgical treatment, and it's cheaper. Now let's move to the.
So then, do you leave the metal clips in there? Do you leave the metal clips?
Yeah, we leave the metal
there?
clips. Yes, we leave the metal clips, and nothing happens. There are lots of things that we leave in the brain. This is minor. People, this question, we get a lot of people. Do you leave this? Do you leave? Yes, we leave a lot of things in the brain when it's necessary. We leave it there. Nothing happens. Okay. And then remember, the whole idea, just for you to understand, is for me to isolate the bulged parts, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole idea of the endovascular treatment is also for me to be able to create a clot and isolate it. So imagine a flat land, right?
Mm-hmm.
A flat land. Yeah. And then you dig a small hole with your hand. If it rains that very moment, water will fill the hole that you just dug in the sand. If you go to the beach on a flat land and then you dig a hole, if it rains, it will, the water will fill the hole that you have dug, right? Yeah. But if you go back and then you fill it with something, you have sealed it, that hole.
Sure.
And so that is the same mechanism. So this is the endovascular treatment. This is what I have been doing now. So we use what we call a coil. Can you see? So you see the bulging. I go there with some coils round, and I fill it up. Let me show you another picture here. It will give you a better idea. Here we have different ways of filling it up. Sometimes we use a stent to help us to fill it. Sometimes we do it raw. And in real life, I don't see it read beautifully like this. In real life, this is how I see the picture.
Whoa.
If I could share my screen, it would have been way better. Let me see something. Okay. So from my phone, look at this picture very well. Here, well, let me try. Here, you see this?
Yeah.
You see this ball here?
Yeah.
This round ball here is an aneurysm. Now look at the second picture here. Mm-hmm. We are filling it. Look at the third picture. You can't see it anymore, right?
No.
You see, this is the third picture. We have filled it with the coil. So in real life, this is how I see it when I go to work, when I'm working. This is the DSA imaging test I was talking about. This is the DSA. This is how it looks like. So when I do a DSA imaging test of the human brain, this is what I need. So I see the aneurysm here. I go there and I fill it with a coil. And then the second one, as I'm filling it, it's becoming less darker. And then the third one, you don't see it. The aneurysm here. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's gone. The bulge is gone. Yes.
Wow.
So this is how I treat it. So I've now filled the soft artery, which could have busted and caused you death. I have sealed it. And then we have another option we call the flow diverter. I don't know if this is really relevant, but that is another option. This thing is damn expensive. And there's another one we call the web. This web can buy a very good V8.
You're joking.
This instrument. So you see the first picture. So this is an artery. Oh, sorry. This. So if it's bulges, I go and I fill it with this round net, and then I isolate it. This thing is damn expensive. And we did one this is I have taken this is a real patient of mine. I did this with my boss on Wednesday. This is a real, you see, we were measuring the aneurysm at the top. We were measuring, the blue thing is measuring. So we measured the aneurysm to know the size and the neck and everything. And then we put that net there. This is a very rich patient, right? So yeah. we fix it there. Yes. So I did this with my boss on Wednesday. It's very expensive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's I am so intrigued because one, in Ghana, we don't have more, like enough neurosurgeons, and then two, we don't have the equipment. I mean, to the average Ghanaian, mommy be otini krasi and na papa be and na branty be. I mean, how can that person be treated? And even so, I mean, the nurses, I don't know, how can they even diagnose this? Because it looks like, I mean, there's no hope.
Well, there's a radiologist in Ghana, Dr. Sarkodie, who is doing this in Urake. But there's no neurosurgeon in Ghana who is doing this. That is why I have decided to travel. Sorry. Even after years of graduating, as a neurosurgeon, I decided to continue my studies to become an interventional neurosurgeon so that I can return. I'm definitely returning. There's no two ways about that, and help Ghanaians. And the whole idea is to be able to set up a foundation attached to it. You know, we have the Cardiothoracic Center in Kolebu, and they have a foundation attached to it, which is supported by, let's say, I think Vina Water, mineral water, and all those people. You buy a mineral bottled water, and a few cents go to the Cardiothoracic Foundation. Yeah. And so people will be able to do all these treatments for almost nothing, because you know, really, Ghanaians will not be able to afford this if you ask them to pay every cent of it. How many Ghanaians can afford? If I tell you to bring, even if it's cost is cut, that I tell you to bring $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, you know, it's expensive for me to be able to. You know,
I mean, way too dear.
So the whole idea is not to be able to just come and say, oh, I'm coming to make money for myself. How can I be able to impact the ordinary Ghanaian who is coming from Konongo with aneurysm? How can I be able to help this person? How? You know, from the kickstart, get-go, I need to set up a foundation attached to whatever I'm doing for institutions and government organizations and, you know, Ghana Petroleum, GNPC, and all those people to come in and support me with proper paperwork and accountability.
Sure.
Because this is happening. There are people in my inbox with aneurysms. They are contacting me every time, and there's very little that I can from here I can do. But when I get down, when I get on the ground, I hope to be able to do a lot, achieve a lot for especially for the ordinary Ghanaian. You know, I'm just praying and hoping for a day that I don't know if it will ever happen that our national how do they call it, health card will be able to cover the cost of treating an aneurysm. Like that day I'll roll from Konongo to Tamale on the ground.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, guys, let's all support Dr. Isabella Opoku. I mean, if she goes back and she manages to set up her center, shall we all rally behind her? Because to do this, for Ghanaians, sis, my hats off to you, and we thank you so much for taking that time out after 17 years of education, going back again to specialize in this field. We say thank you and God bless you, honestly. So, I mean, if there's any field that you've not actually covered, I mean, still continue and I hope you're all listening and taking, notes, and also sharing this, information as much as possible for this thing to go far. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, for how long can someone live with a, I remember you said, somebody can live with it for their lifetime or whatever, but I mean, just in case it ruptures, how long, before that person gets that medical intervention, how long that,
50% of people who will rupture will die. 50% of them will die. And the 50% who will survive, only 1/3 of them will have a normal life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish you could just explain.
And let me chip in quickly. I spoke about I think this is very important, the family risk factor.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually screening, we do screening with either MRA, your doctor is the one who's supposed to know this, not the ordinary, or CTA is recommended for first degree relatives when 2 or more members of the family have aneurysm. So let's say your mom, your dad, your mom, your sister, when you have 2 or more of your relatives with aneurysm, you are a candidate for screening. So you should automatically avail yourself to do the imaging test to see if you have aneurysm periodically. For you, you don't even have to sit there and have headache before you go and check if you have. If you have 2 or more of your relative, if they have had aneurysm, or they've died through aneurysm or anything, you are a candidate for screening. As for second degree, it is controversial still in literature. So what do I mean by this? Let's say my grandparents, 2 of them died of aneurysm. My grandparents, that's a second degree, right? If both of my grandparents died from aneurysm, that is second degree, right? It is still controversial that I should be a candidate for screening. But if I were you, I would still not sit down. There's controversy in literature as to if there. But if you are a first degree, you have 2 relatives who have it, you have to avail yourself for screening. This is very important information for the general public. Yes.
Okay. So can let's say after operating, on a person with brain aneurysm and it's been, successful, is there any chance that maybe the person can actually get memory deficit? I mean, is there any chance, or once the person is operated and the operation is successful, there will be any side effects?
That your disability, your deficit will depend on the location of the aneurysm.
Okay.
Into where the aneurysm is located. And each part of the brain controls different range. We have where your speech is controlled. We have where you understand. As I'm speaking, you understand me. We have that area of the brain where I can move my hand is controlled by a different area of the brain. My leg,
wow.
So yes, it depends on where the aneurysm is located. It's bleed. And look, we've seen there's another thing that probably I did not mention. There are people with multiple aneurysms. 2 weeks ago, I had a patient with 5 aneurysms. And when we did the imaging test, my boss said, we have to choose which one we are going to treat. Which one is more critical. So then we go by the size. I'm laughing, but it's not really funny.
It's not funny. It's a serious business.
I've seen a patient with 7. So then we, as a neurosurgeon, I need to judge and see which ones are more critical to treat, because each one, even if we are treating endovascular, we need a stent. That what we need to use for the treatment is very expensive. So which ones, obviously our patients could not afford, because if we need over 100,000 or more to treat everything at a go like that, So we need to pick and choose which ones were more critical for us to choose, for us to treat and all that.
Wow. Wow. So, what does recovery from a brain aneurysm look like?
What is what?
Recovery from brain aneurysm look like?
Oh, real normal life.
Okay.
Are you talking about the rapture or the unraptured?
I mean both. I mean, if you can just indicate.
As for the unraptured, you will not even know that the person underwent any procedure, especially if the treatment is endovascular, the treatment that we don't cut you. The person will check in on Monday. We do it that same day. Or the next day or 2 days. We discharge. The following week, the person is going back to work. Normally, if you're a co-worker and the person doesn't come to tell you that I underwent treatment for aneurysm, you wouldn't even know. But for the ruptured ones, usually the person will have symptoms. So usually they get into the hospital through the emergency room. So that one, their recovery is a bit more slow. But even that, like this woman that I was talking to you about, that she came to me and she was having a conversation with me about the sharp pain she felt when she was bathing and all that. She's although she's on pension, she's going about her normal life, doing everything, sweeping, cooking, normal. Yeah.
Wow. So is there any way that we can prevent brain aneurysm apart from, the family, what is it called? Help me with the medical term. The genetics and everything.
I talked about the modifiable risk factors initially, right? Mm-hmm. The modifiable risk factors: hypertension, I talked about it. High cholesterol, I talked about it. Type 2 diabetes, I talked about it. Smoking, cocaine use, inactivity, I talked about. These are modifiable risk factors. These are things that it's your life choice. And all these things that I've listed, I think hypertension, cholesterol, diabetes, all these are diet related. These are life choices that we make. These are life choices. And our inactivity, we decide not to do any exercise. People would not even go for a walk. Fine, you don't like to go to the gym, that's okay, but you don't even go for a walk 3 times in a week, even in your neighborhood. They are the non-modifiable factors which you cannot do anything about. You grow old anyway. That's why you cannot do anything about it. If you're born into a family where family members have it, you cannot isolate yourself. You're part of that family. You cannot do anything about it. Female sex, that is the females, we have more incidents of. You cannot do anything about it. Even if you go and you do a surgery to change your sex, how they contrast whatever, your body is still that of a female. You cannot do anything about it. If you have any genetic component in you cannot do anything about it. But the modifiable risk factors, you can, and it plays a huge role. And I said it. These modifiable and unmodifiable risk factors, they move hand in hand. They never move alone. So even if you are in the category of the unmodifiable risk factor, you have a strong family line of aneurysm, okay? You are growing old, okay? You are 50 and above, okay? You are in literature has shown or research has shown, fine. Depends on your choices of life, your food, your diet, your exercise, everything counts.
Yeah. Wow. So apart from the unexplainable or like the intense, headache and also vomiting and also the seizure, is there any chance that somebody will not exhibit any of these signs but might still have aneurysm?
Yes,
that might be very, very life-threatening.
It's, these vomit, vomiting, these symptoms that have usually, this sharp headache that will make the person, collapse, and these seizures are usually related to the ruptured ones.
Okay.
But as for the headache, it's for both, it runs through both the ruptured and unruptured. Okay. The headache runs through both, and it's rare for you to find someone. Majority of people, like I said, if it's not ruptured, if it's unruptured, they will live their entire life with it. They will die from other causes. You will not know. They don't even know that they have aneurysm until they are unlucky and it ruptures.
Wow. Great. I mean, if anyone has got any questions for Dr. Isabella Opoku, please, I think she'll be more than happy to answer any of your concerns. Yeah. But, doctor, because since we are educating most of our Ghanaian people, I just want you to talk about aneurysm, maybe a minute, in our local dialect, so that just in case if someone wants to explain it to maybe the mom or maybe to the father, maybe to the uncle. I mean, yes, aneurysm. It's just saying, so that maybe the person can, happy or happily explain it, local whatever, to the parents. It's saying what's yes, it's aneurysm. It's just saying maybe in a minute or so. I mean, if you can explain it. I mean,
hey, Nana, we don't me out to sports. You see when I treat you.
Maybe just to explain.
Okay, mommy born a tough one.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Inti aneurysm ye eti yare ebetimi atu bia yare ewo nipa etimu and I say can say adwinimu
yeah
adwinimu yare
yeah
etu a ebetimi enyu moja ediegu utim ne ebetimi ekum ate wonkwaso na say enkuwa ante wonkwaso a ebetimi akawato dem ebetimi akawato mpam nkwa na aka no wo wenim no ebetimi ede wato mpam na ningi na etwa se unye hu se wo ho na hu se uti pai wo din pe wo se wo doctor na wo ma doctor ne ti ase se uti pai we ti pai a nhu bida na wunti bida na city pai cry
no yeah
my chi okay uti pai wo din pa he wo se wo doctor ho uti pai wo a entena fie keke eti pai wo hwe emma nipa so kwa bibi na emma nipa ti pai no nti se uti pai epu wo ho na uti pai wo ana se wo ho kwa na wa fi keke na uti pai wo ana wo bi wo ho na ne ho bon se na ya yarewe eba ne se onipa ni wo usually onipa ni wo a oya ade osi niama oto niama onu aduane ewuma no nipa de twahwe ana se bibi sampofri mu ana se onipa ni beka se miti no we twahwe bibi sa e wo se enimoni pofri mu ano modi ne ko doctor ho na modi ne ko doctor ho a ebi wo ho a doctor ne be hwe no na ya discharge no hospital ketwa mamu mane nso ho a munko doctor kesie mu hospital kesie mu kolebu konfanoche na munko hwehwe doctor omo hweti yare no mu hwehwe mu omo beye omo be chamfoni utini mfoni ahwese bibi ekoswa why I hope my G.
Oh yes. I mean I think with this basic information anybody at all can relate with what you just told us, and I think anybody online listening to us, with this information, we can easily share this with our mothers, with our fathers, with our uncles who are not educated or who can't, speak English fluently, especially if they have to, tell the doctors how they feel and everything. So I think with this basic information, you call doctor sɛ bɛtumi akyerɛkyerɛ deɛ ɛha yɛn anim akyerɛ a doctor for. Yeah, so I think we've come to the end of our discussion, unless Dr. Isabella Opoku, unless maybe you have something more to tell us or to educate us on. Otherwise, yeah. So if there's anything, like your final words or anything that you want the public to know, I don't know whether maybe we're finished or not, but it's up to you. I'll just leave you for you to end the discussion. I mean, from your side before I give my my closing remarks. Yeah, is that okay?
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity to educate Ghanaians and to sensitize them on this public health menace. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Dr. Isabella Opoku. This is our youngest female neurosurgeon, just like I introduced her earlier on. And I think we should encourage our young girls or even our young boys to go into this field. Ghana needs more neurosurgeons. She alone can't take on this burden. She needs our support. She needs our support. And to have heard, tonight that we don't even have the equipment, we don't even have the technical know-how, and I mean, so many things in Ghana really saddens my heart. And I'm just imagining the normal Ghanaian living in, let's say, Mr. Bonnet, or maybe Amiam or Samankesi or somewhere that has no access to a modern hospital. I mean, you can just tell what can happen to that person. And that person is also a normal Ghanaian, just like you and I, that deserves, to live and have a good life just like you and I as well. So, I'm now appealing to our MPs, our politicians. I think I would dare to say that it's high time we set our priorities right. It's high time we set our priorities right. This is a national cry. This is a national cry. I just pray that if our dear Isabella Opoku returns home, you all give her the maximum support, the maximum resources to set up the center that she requires to save lives. And also to anybody out there who, wants to partner with her, I think, she'll be more than welcome to, receive any form of assistance from all of us, especially, like those of us in diaspora. I think we should all support her, to make her dream, become a reality. And her dream is so simple: to save lives. To save lives. Out of one adoso. Like a month for back, I think now we're beginning to understand, some of the causes. And this is one of the causes, out of the many causes. Brain aneurysm is one that silently kills a lot of Ghanaians. And I think we should put a stop to it. And how do we do it? Train more doctors, set up, centers that can cater for, this menace. Doctor, I'm so grateful for your time. I know you're so busy. So for you making time to educate us, those of us in diaspora, and also, you know, people back home, I do not take this for granted at all. Thank you so much. We wish you well. We wish you, you know, every good thing, you know, from above. We wish you well. And thank you. And I hope this discussion will go far. This discussion will help our aunties, our uncles, our parents, and also to the young men, because according to her, now we have, you know, people living in their 30s dying of aneurysm. So this can, you know, basically affect everybody. So let us, you know, be mindful of what we eat, and also we, you know, be mindful of our lifestyle. It's so important. A little bit of exercises or exercise here and there, and also you are what you eat. So be mindful of, you know, what you also put in this body. On that note, I'll say thank you for anybody that stayed with us till now. Thank you so much for your, you know, for your company. And until I come your way once again, I'd like to say thank you and also have a blessed week. Dr. Isabella Opoku, we appreciate you and we love you so much. Take care and look after yourself. Thank you. And stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.